Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
That's to my good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Thursday, 2nd of May 2024. From Manx Radio, 30 minutes looking at the latest news on the island. Background to that news, we've got sport and business and travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, the Cabinet Office wants your view on the North and West plan. Still lots of mortgage applications for first-time buyers. Will our wind farm bring microplastics to the south? This April was the wettest on record, and Joe Yeardsley looks to a TT debut later this month.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
But first of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. First to my Christian Jones.
First to my, a man's been flown to the UK for treatment after being involved in a crash on the Ballymodor Strait yesterday afternoon. Police, fire and ambulances attended the single motorbike collision just before 4:30. A local mortgage advisor says the majority of applications his company is dealing with are from first-time buyers. Paul Chase says his team is holding between 60 and 70 meetings weekly in respect of potential mortgage applications. And new data from the Ronaldsway Met Office shows April was the wettest on record. A total of 138.3 millimetres of rainfall exceeded the previous record of 130 set in 1961. In international news, Kate Forbes, who stood against Humza Yousaf in the last SNP leadership contest, has said she won't run to replace him this time. The former finance secretary has instead backed John Swinney to become First Minister and says he can deliver the urgent change Scotland needs. Police say they've made a number of arrests in South London after protests blocked a coach taking asylum seekers from a hotel to the Bibby Stockholm barge. The Home Office has called their behaviour intimidating and aggressive. And Don Gillett has been announced as the new detective on BBC show Death in Paradise. The actor, known for playing Lucas Johnson in EastEnders, will take on the role of Detective Inspector Mervyn Wilson. Those are the Update News headlines, next at 6.
Secure tomorrow today with Man Benham's guidance on powers of attorney and more. Manx Radio weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you, Christian. From the Ronaldsway Met Office, still some occasional strong winds in the North Irish Sea. State of sea is slight or moderate and smooth or slight tomorrow morning. The weather for this evening, dry with hazy sunshine and a moderate to fresh wind coming in from the northeast, will ease through the night, minimum 10 Celsius. For Friday, tomorrow, Chehenya dry and cloudy and a light breeze, daylight maximum 14, overnight minimum 9. Into Saturday, which will dawn cloudy with some rain and a light to moderate southerly, then dry and bright Saturday afternoon up to 13 degrees. Tide's on the way back in, as is the Manxman just on the edge of Douglas Bay. High water, 21 minutes past 7. Sunset 7 minutes to 9 tonight. Low tide 7 minutes before 2 a.m. Sunrise 24 minutes to 6. And the morning high water at 11 minutes to 8.
Manx Glass and Glazing are proud to be an approved contractor with Construction Isle of Man. Call the team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
The Cabinet Office ministers urging residents to put their views across about the draft area plan for the North and West. Kate Lord Brennan, MHK, Peel MHK, of course, says the strategy has changed since 2022 because she extended the deadline for land submissions.
There is a difference in the case of Peel of sites that are being proposed and are under consideration at a public inquiry than was initially published in the draft plan. And that is because landowners or local authorities had the chance to submit further sites for consideration for inclusion in the North West Area Plan. In this process, anybody can submit their views to the inquiry, and I really want people to participate and register to be heard at the public inquiry because it's independently chaired. It's part of a statutory process that is required under law, and it's for exactly these reasons that people's voices should be heard. There is an absolute recognition from the planning policy side of things that where there may be proposals for additional development for housing or something else, we also need to look at how local infrastructure may or can be required considered to support that additional approach or development of housing. And that's a key part of what planning policy team must do. So it doesn't determine what will be delivered, but it has to create a reference point for provision. People are obviously concerned about sewage infrastructure. There has been a lot of development under the existing local area plans that have come from 1989. The written statement that accompanies the maps states clearly that there should be no further significant development approved for Peel until new sewage infrastructure is operational.
A local mortgage advisor says the majority of mortgage applications his company is dealing with are from first-time buyers. Paul Chase says his team's holding between 60 and 70 meetings a week in relation to mortgages, suggesting confidence is high in the property market on the island. He believes falling inflation, stable interest rates and an increase in the number of properties coming onto the market are contributory factors.
I think it's the fact that people were kind of holding their horses, waiting for indications that the base rate may start coming back down, and we certainly had that towards the end of last year. It hesitated slightly with inflation ticking slightly up in January, February, but we're back on a course now where inflation's down to 3.2 and expected to continue to fall. And despite the Bank of England giving sort of indications that the rate will remain high for a longer period, the general expectation is that certainly this year we should expect a base rate decrease.
And this, of course, is the busiest time for the property market in the Isle of Man as we come into spring. That suggests that confidence is high.
Yeah, I would certainly say confidence is high. There's a lot of sold signs around at the moment. We're seeing an awful lot of people come through the doors. We're meeting with 60 to 70 clients per week, and they're looking to put mortgage applications in for purchases. A lot of first-time buyers as well, which is interesting to see.
Who are the majority of the people applying for them? Do they form a major percentage?
Yeah, I would say the first-time buyers is the major percentage of the people that we're actually seeing. So it does sort of suggest that people have been, since COVID, they've kind of been sat back and waiting. There was a bit of a rush following the pandemic, and when everybody got back in the world, that went on for a good year or so, and then the Isle of Man seemed to run out of properties. I think 2 years on from that point, we're now in a position where actually there is more property on the market, and people are willing to move, and I think we're now seeing opportunities for first-time buyers coming up, especially as the interest rates have come down a little bit from the height they were last year.
The only radio station that's Manx, and we're proud of it. Celebrating 60 years. This is Manx Radio.
Fast by 22 minutes now before 6. After an impressive emergence into the road racing scene over the last 12 months, Manxman Joe Yeardsley is currently eyeing a TT debut later this month. Joe talks about his preparations after strong performances in 2023 at the Pre-TT Classic and the Manx Grand Prix.
Everything's going according to plan. In terms of the bike, we've invested heavily in a new super sport bike for this year. I'm very grateful to have fantastic sponsors on board that have all played a massive part in having this happen. So we've got a brand new R6 for the TT. Haven't had a chance to ride it yet. We're hoping to get out before TT, but unfortunately having a little off at Scarborough a few weeks ago and chipping a bone in my hand, it's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. But other than that, everything's in place for TT. I've been in the hyperbaric chamber for the last 2 weeks and started some physio, so fingers crossed we'll be fit and ready for TT.
How would you describe these last 12 months for yourself in terms of your progress?
It's been an emotional roller coaster, to be honest. It's all been very positive, but it's been a lot to take in. I mean, becoming a dad last year, your life changes, drastically with that, and then having the good pre-TT and the Manx Grand Prix, and it's all been quite a lot to take in, to be honest, because obviously after the Manx Grand Prix, go straight back to work and get on with family life, and then it's only now when you kind of look back at what we've done, and it is special. I think anyone that's ever started road racing, no matter what kind of level you're at, whether it's club level or coming from a BSB background and going to the TT, it's the pinnacle of any sort of road racing, isn't it? It's the biggest international road race event in the world, and I think being Manx makes it so much more special for me personally. It was great to do the Manx Grand Prix because my dad was a previous winner, but everything that we've done over the past 3 years has been leading up to this moment of making our debut at the TT. So to finally be here is amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But at the same time, there's always the nerves there as well. But this year, as I've said, previously, you're up against the best in the world now, and you think you're fast at the Manx Grand Prix, but when you go to the TT, it's a totally different level. So I'm just really looking forward to doing doing it. I'm just going to go out there and without any major expectations, just to go out there and try and improve on the times for the Manx Grand Prix and kind of let it come to me naturally.
You may not be surprised to hear April this year in the Isle of Man was the wettest on record, rainfall totalling 138.3 millimetres, exceeded the previous record of 130 millimetres set in 1961. Gary Salisbury is responsible for gathering the data at the Ronaldsway Met Office.
It's gone on for a long time. We've had 5 consecutive months now with above average rainfall, and 8 of the last 10 months have had above average rainfall. And 2 of those months, if you think back last July and the April we've just had, were record breakers. So it really is a very wet period that we've had recently. The last dry spell, really, if you think back last early summer, May, June, TT period was really nice, wasn't it? But pretty much since then it's been very wet. There's a small element about El Nino which contributes slightly, but that's only a small part. It's mainly climate change. Broadly, the difference in temperature between the poles and the equator has caused changes to the jet stream, and so we get stuck in these patterns where instead of the natural variability that we kind of think of traditionally, where you get some poor weather for a while and then a ridge and some high pressure and some nice weather for a few days, it just stays stuck in the one pattern for a longer period.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
There's concern over the environmental impact a proposed wind farm in the south of the island will have in terms of microplastics. Manx Utilities is carrying out ecological surveys around the proposed site at Erie State. Jeron Watts, Chief Innovation Officer at sustainability company Exo Technologies in Douglas, says more needs to be known about the turbines themselves.
What do we do at the end of life with these turbine blades? We cannot bury them in our hills. They contain boric acids, they contain other bad materials, cobalt, salt, styrenes, BPAs and so on. But one of the side effects, and that's something which popped up, is leading edge erosion. It's a headbreaker of the industry. These turbines, they lose their performance because the shape of these leading edge part of the blade is causing less performance of the blade. And so we take a wind turbine, let's say with a diameter about 130 meters. One blade is about 60 tons, and 700 kilograms of this 60 tons is exposed to leading edge erosion. 62 kilograms per turbine contains nanoplastic, which is spread over our lands and reservoirs and sea. So that's about, if we do 5 wind turbines here, 310 kilograms per year of nanoplastics, which will be eaten by livestock, which ends in our reservoirs. If these figures are right, it's very likely. There's no still scientific report about it. But when you just bear in mind that in, let's say, in the resins of these turbines, so you have resins and fibers, it contains BPA, which is bisphenol A, and that's a scientific fact that 1 kilogram of this BPA can pollute 1 billion liter of water. To put that in perspective of the Isle of Man, put 1 kilogram in the reservoir of Ingebrek and it's polluted. In this 62 kilo per wind turbine, how much BPA in it, nobody actually knows.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, oil and gas giant Shell gushed higher as it reported a 15% jump in earnings in the first 3 months of the year compared with the final quarter of the year on the back of higher margins from crude and oil products trading. It also unveiled a new $3.5 billion share buyback. Adjusted earnings rose 6% to $7.7 billion in the first 3 months of the year, smashing estimates of $6.5 billion, but lower than the $9.6 billion reported in the first 3 months of 2023 as energy companies cashed in on the surge of oil and gas prices. For a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Now, do you fancy enticing Lidl to the Isle of Man and making some money for yourself? The German discount supermarket's gearing up for a significant expansion into Britain, with plans to open hundreds of new stores, and the grocer's actively seeking suitable locations and has invited customers to assist by offering a finder's fee of either 1.5% of the total freehold purchase price or 10% of the first year's rent for leaseholds. Rival Aldi is also on the lookout for prime locations following the recent announcement of a £550 million investment to expand its presence in Britain. Retail Gazette reports that the new store openings are becoming increasingly challenging for the discounters due to their already expansive estates, but Britain is just one of many growth markets at present. Last July, Lidl Lidl France announced its ambition to acquire 600 French supermarkets owned by Casino and Monoprix. Aldi Nord, which is responsible for Aldi's European operations outside Germany, aims to open 700 new stores across the continent within 3 years, while in America, Aldi is planning to establish 800 new stores by 2028.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stocks were slightly lower. The dollar was on the back foot. Oil edged backwards towards the previous day's 7-week low, and gold edged higher for a second straight session. The numbers reported by Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 up 0.6%, 8,172. The DAX in Frankfurt down almost 0.1% at the close, 17,917. The Dow Jones Industrial through the day is 0.5% up at 38,088. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up 0.7% at 15,714. And in Chicago, the S&P 500 up 0.4% at 5,036. But of course, the day continues in the United States. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 25 cents, €1 16.7 cents, and 23 South African rand 26 cents. In commodities, gold's down 0.6% at $2,302 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude down just over 0.1% at $83.42.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Derby commissioners are hoping plans for a new play area in the parish will encourage future island residents to move to the area. Chair Kelly Charman and Vice Chair Lee Quaggan ran 2 drop-in sessions for residents to have their say, and despite a low turnout, they believe involving the community in the design is important.
It's really important that the community get involved. At the end of the day, it's their park, so we want their feedback and their involvement, because we could build a park for everybody and it might not be suitable, whereas if people actually put the input in, we know we're giving them something they want.
I think it's been very interesting to get some of the results backed up from the original poll. We're seeing the same sort of results coming through on what people are looking at, and it's given us a good idea of where we go with it and where we go next. That's going to be the interesting one.
We did have the survey out online, which was shared with a lot of the local community groups, which we did get a lot of response back from that, and I do think a couple of nurseries who use the play park actually filled that in. School is a big one for us, that we want to get school involved, because obviously we want the children to have a voice, so we would be looking next to speaking to the school and getting them involved.
Well, Derby Play Park was community built at the start, quite a long time ago now, so now's the time. We want to see something happen. We've got more people moving to the area, we've got more families coming in, and we have an opportunity to do this, so why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to see more facilities for the children? It keeps families here.
It's a growing community, and I think to encourage people, you have to make sure that there's facilities here. So it's important that we grow the area and we grow the community, so people are encouraged to come and buy houses in the Ballygarrigan development. We want to support the area developing. That was one of the biggest reasons why we all stood as a board, was because we wanted to see change out here, and slowly but surely we're starting to see that, which is fantastic.
Manx Radio Sport.
Fast Am I sports editor Rob Pritchard.
Fast Am I, good evening. Starting with football, and just 1 point separates the top 3 in DPS Limited Combination 2 following last night's latest fixtures across the island. Douglas Athletics' 4-1 win away at Michael United takes them level on points with Onken in second, who've played 4 games less so far, and to within 1 of leaders Douglas High School Old Boys, who've played 2 fewer matches. Elsewhere in Combination 2, Castletown earned a dramatic 5-4 win at Governors Athletic, whilst Foxdale were awarded a home walkover against Gyms. In Combi 1, champions Ramsey were officially presented with the league trophy which they secured last week. The Northerners won a 10-goal thriller at home to St John's United 6-4 yesterday. Meanwhile, Ayr United hammered Corinthians 10-3 at Andreas Plainfields. Braddon took a narrow 3-2 victory over St Mary's, whilst Moran and Peel played out a 1-1 stalemate. Tonight, the finalists for this year's Cowell Cup will be decided. In this evening's semi-finals, Corinthians, who knocked out last year's champions Russian United in the quarter-finals, host Ramsey, and last year's finalists Onken travel to Peel. Both fixtures are due to get underway at 6:30pm. Sticking with football, and Manx professional player Adam Long will remain with National League outfit AFC Fylde for next season. The former St George's player has penned a new deal with the Coasters to keep him at Mill Farm until the end of the 2024-25 campaign. Long first joined the outfit in February this year on an initial short-term agreement until the end of this season, after leaving League Two side Doncaster Rovers, who he'd been with since July 2022, by mutual consent. And in cricket, Isle of Man Cricket has confirmed its women's T20I squad to take part in an international three-game series this coming weekend. The 13-strong squad will face Guernsey at Sparsholt Cricket Club in Winchester between Sunday and next Monday. Captaining the side will be Alanya Thorpe, while Sam Hassel makes her debut in the setup. The first two matches of the competition will take place on the Sunday, starting at 11 a.m. and then 3 p.m. respectively. The Island Nations will then face off one more time the day after, getting underway at 11 a.m.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Some delays at Ronald's Way inbound. The 5:25 Loganair from Manchester won't be in until 6:30. Then it's the 7:25 EasyJet from London Gatwick. The 7:55 Loganair from Liverpool, returning patient transfer. And the 10 to 9 Loganair from London City. They're all showing us on time. Outbound, that 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool patient transfer is delayed, so the inbound may be delayed later on. Then it's the 7:55 EasyJet back to London Gatwick. On the roads, temporary lights on Sandygate Road for work on the pavements. Temporary lights on Vicarage Road in Braddon at the Stevenson's Way roundabout for water main replacement. Jacks Lane in Maccles closed for ditching work, and part of the old Castletown roads closed between Port Sodrick, Glen Road and Marine Drive for carriageway repairs. In Douglas, Hillside Avenue is closed for adjacent office window replacement through to Circular Road. Part of Switzerland Road's closed till November for construction work. Temporary lights on Belafton Manor Hill in Farm Hill near the Cool Ferran Junction for resurfacing. Phase closures on the Ballakill Ferrick Road for water main work. The Starvey Road's got phase closures for water main work. The Kindrockard Road in Andros has got phase closures for water main work. And temporary lights on Church Road near Russian Church in Port Erin for patching work.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Quayside. Up to a third of around 100 hospitality businesses represented at a crisis meeting this week could fail within 6 to 12 months. The view of the LVA representative, Andy Saunders, as the industry continues to put pressure on the government to help.
They don't only have to listen, they have to act. And to be fair to them, they have agreed to meet us again. But some of the presentations they're putting up across in the press and so on don't really fairly reflect where we're coming from as an organisation and the sector. Most of our ideas around support are based around keeping money in people's pockets on the Isle of Man and to keep more of the small businesses' profits, or not even profits, but earnings in their companies so that they can spend, rather than going to cover some of the government's own problems and expenditure. I genuinely feel that there are lots and lots of people in government that understand where the problems of this island are at. Do I think everybody in government is of that mindset? Unfortunately not. If we went to the meeting on Monday, there were over 100 businesses represented, and there is a definite threat in the short term, and by the short term we mean 6 to 12 months, of a third of those businesses not being able to function anymore. There will certainly be businesses that won't be around at the end of this month, indeed. The things that we want to make really clear is, first of all, we're not campaigning just for hospitality. We're campaigning for all of the Isle of Man small businesses who have been put under a strain caused by the Isle of Man government's issues. Now, they've called for us to be sustainable, affordable and fair. We'd ask them to look at their own policies and make sure that their rises are sustainable, affordable and fair.
Motor vessel Manxman safely on the link span in Douglas should be leaving this evening at 8:15, yet to Heysham just before midnight. 02:15 back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. Just a few weeks to go before hundreds of people take to the streets and pathways of the island for the 2024 Parish Walk on the 24th of June. Now, ahead of entries closing at midnight this Sunday, race director Ray Cox explains how big a turnout they may be expecting this year and what he thinks makes this occasion special.
The entries are coming in steady. It looks like we'll probably be on a par to last year when they all finally get in. In the post-COVID year, we had a massive bumper entry, and all sports across the board experienced a real big boost in their entry levels. And of course, that's all died down. So we're back to what I would call the pre-COVID level, and we're consistent with that. Getting back to sort of 1,200, 1,300 numbers, that makes the event work very well. Our infrastructure sustains that perfectly, and of course helps us with our long-term objectives. It's just an incredible experience. The atmosphere in Parish Walk Day, it is unique, and I suppose every event that has a peculiarity to it, we think we're unique and whatever, but Parish Walk is special, and on Parish Walk Day, the Isle of Man is shown in its best light. A real strong community spirit, a real fun day out. It's great to see the human endeavour of people achieving what they want to achieve, and at the finish line you see the full spectrum of emotion. The local communities embrace it, they look forward to it, they put on things. It's nice to have our mackerel barbecue, it's nice to have the music down across four ways. We've got some real traditional things that come on every year, and again, communities participate, they come together, people mixing, people talking, people enjoying the Manx countryside. That's really fantastic, and that's another aspect of the Parish Walk. Yes, it's a superb athletic achievement to finish the Parish Walk, or even to walk to Peel or whatever, but it's everybody else participating, everybody coming out, their friends and family supporting them. That's what makes the Parish Walk special.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's newsroom. Thanks to newsreader Christian Jones, producer Amy Griffiths. After the news at 6, Shackley, Marilyn Crellin, Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30, and today at Guild 2024 with Judith at 9, and I'm back tomorrow at 5:30.
WINT